Hey everyone, welcome back. Alright, I can't believe I need to make this video. Now, this is a follow-up to my Jade video. There are people telling me she sucks, or that she is unusable, or that something about how her damage is low and has no energy. Seriously, I'm gonna guess you didn't even actually watch my video or check the builds I provided. There are a lot of theory crafters I've talked to in the past few days about the current state of Jade, and the current consensus for Bestial Path is that she is indeed actually better than Dante on release. Why? It's time to learn. I'm not going to show you any cool fancy things in this video. We're going to go into why so many Jade builds, suck, and why she feels bad for the investment you put in. I'm tired of getting flooded with comments about her. No, she's not a perfect frame. I have criticisms for her too, which I'll leave at the end of this video. Besides the fact that they need to make her abilities quieter in general, all the recent frames are just way too loud. First, her energy economy. Stop using builds that are not 175 efficiency for her Altfire. Seriously. I don't know what you're thinking. Following builds that use 45 efficiency or 100 efficiency when it uses energy on every Altfire and telling me that she runs out. Even 130 to 135 efficiency is barely enough. Yes, there's Nourish and, that's just one helmet. But if you're not using Nourish, stop using builds that aren't 175 efficiency. I use 175 on all my Altfire NUKE builds, and she has literally never run out of energy once, unless I'm literally not even flying down to the ground to pick loot up. And, well, if you don't pick loot up, nothing will fix that. Arcane Energize requires loot. Nourish requires loot, or Hunter's Adrenaline. But if you're nuking everything hard enough, you're barely gonna get shot, so it's not gonna proc much. Xeneric and Energy Nexus, and any energy over time does not work while in her 4. Stop using them for her 4. Your drain cost is determined by drain and efficiency calculations that account for duration both. If you don't want to do the math, just hover efficiency to see channel costs. Note that channel cost uses uncapped efficiency on mods, which is why I have 180 here. What are common breakpoints for a minimal channel cost? Obviously, the standard 100 duration and 175 efficiency. Note that there is an entire wiki article with a chart that tells you how this works. 80 duration with 180 efficiency also gives you minimal drain. Now you can see this here because I have 180 efficiency with 78 duration in Arsenal, and look at how my efficiency drain calc is 25.8% of the cost. So if you run 78 180 like I'm here, everything is dirt cheap and channel costs are cheap. When Molt efficiency is active, because I nuke everything, I'm above 100 duration. The only reason why I use this arcane is so that my 1 lasts longer. If you don't want to use it, just put more duration shards on. You can replace this with even Energize if you want, but I didn't even need it on my build either. If you want energy at the start of a rush mission, like Exterminate, which enemies are unlikely to kill you because they don't spawn that many, replace Aviator with Preparation. And now you don't need to worry about energy problems anymore. You can even use blue shards for energy max, or just give up one of these mods like Prime Continuity and just throw on, Flow. Because you're not going to be getting hit with shields in a Exterminate mission munch, because you're just flying through the mission, nuking everything instantly. And you don't need your one to stick around if it's an Exterminate rush mission, because nothing spawns behind you. Second, range. You want high range for her Altfire. Range equals more enemies you can hit, and each enemy hit produces their own AoE. AoE on AoE, quadratic damage, probably not even the first time you've heard this term. The more range she has, the more her damage skyrockets. Stop using builds with neutral or low range or just barely positive range. You want 175 as the bare minimum for Altfire builds, otherwise you're literally shooting yourself in the foot. Third, if you don't want to use secondary Outburst, which is what I recommended in the video, because it triples your damage, but it's annoying, then just use a combat discipline setup. You don't need to worry about the self-damage, and you can put Avenger here, because she heals herself with her 1, which you're going to be spamming anyways. Now you don't really need to worry about using a secondary Outburst with a Ceramic Dagger or other strat with melee Crescendo. This is still a 1.6 times damage increase. versus running Outburst, which is a 3 times damage increase. There's literally no reason to not use this on an Altfire build if you don't want to use Outburst. Also, 4, her Altfire. Please learn how it actually works. I cover this in my video. Base damage does literally nothing for it. Multi-shot does not affect it. You can also only Altfire once per second, unaffected by reload speed, fire rate, or casting speed. Primed Fulmination does not work on the Altfire. Stop putting Prime Fulmination on your builds. Stop telling me that I missed Prime Fulmination on my builds. It does not work. I've been testing it every single day of the patch since she dropped. If you think you're getting bigger blast radius, here, I'll tell you why. Your blast radius is listed here on your alternate fire radius 9.4 meters. When you blow up anything inside of your 1, that gets multiplied by 1.5. That's why you're getting bigger blast radius. It's not from Prime Fulmination. Stop using it. 5th, duration. You absolutely do not need to build high duration. Neutral duration is enough, which is what I get from Multificiency previously. Now that I'm using Avenger, which I'm going to showcase today, I can put duration shards on if I want. But why do you not need duration? Well, her armor strip ability is recastable and lasts 30 seconds by default. 30 seconds is enough. You can even decast it by tapping instead of holding. Your 2 extends every single time you kill an enemy marked by Judgment, which you can easily get by spamming her 1. And we already build massive range, so you're going to be blowing up a ton of enemies and tagging a ton of enemies. The only reason to put duration on, like a lot of duration, is for her 1. But we built massive range, so everything explodes instantly, and it's cheap to throw more of them because we're 175 efficiency. So I don't actually have a reason to build super high duration, as it only lasts 10 seconds. It's expensive to build her for 200 plus duration. You lose a lot of other stats. Just throw your 1 all over the place more. If you're on AFK camp build, then you can go up to 200, but on a run and gun Altfire build, there's 0 reason to build high duration on her. 6th, survivability. Aviator is enough to keep you alive, because this gives you 50%, this gives you 40%. They're multiplicative. The final total is you get 70% damage reduction. You're going to be nuking hard enough, most things won't be able to shoot back. If you still want more survivability, drop a mod to put adaptation on. That's it. You're already chucking your 1 everywhere with a massive radius that heals you of a % max HP per second. If you feel like you have enough damage, or when they make it so base damage effects are 4 in the future, change this to Arcane Blessing. Now you're going to end up with plus 1,200 health total, as long as you stick around long enough, which is 1.6k, almost 1.7k. You're going to be healing like 20% plus health per second, which is over 300 health a second. With adaptation, you're not dying on Bestial Path with this. And about her glory modding, they already confirmed, as I mentioned, that they will let base damage scale with it in the future. We just don't know when that's going to be, but they're aware of it. That will double to triple its damage scaling, because currently the weapon buff of her 2nd ability, Deathbringer, does not affect the Altfire, but it does affect the normal fire mode. So personally, I would prefer if they just made it more simpler to understand. Nerf her 4, but make it scale with Hornet Strike and Multi-Shot, because that also doesn't work on the Altfire right now, so that we don't need 2 different builds for ability nuke versus gun DPS, and then this hybrid build in between. In my original video, I showcased without using any armor strip at all whatsoever, because it was not needed for Bestial Path. I had builds to showcase 3-second strip or 2-second strip, but I never had it active in my mission at all whatsoever. Remember that all damage shown in my original video was with full armor. Today's mission footage also includes 0 armor strip on base kits. So why do I consider her better than Dante? Because she doesn't need to be where enemies are to kill them. Even Tragedy, before nerfs, when it had no line of sight, required Dante to actually be in the thick of battle to be able to kill enemies. Okay? It doesn't even matter if he does more damage when both Jade and him instantly kill enemies. She does, in fact, have a much bigger AoE, right? But it also goes through walls, even when she isn't there. Like, how can you say that this is bad damage when I'm literally using 0 synergy on whatsoever? And now I guess I even cast this for more strength, which didn't snapshot into your 4, by the way. So I can go on and do this too and recast that, and now we're back in. It's just like, I don't understand. I really don't understand. Because remember, I'm nerfing my build right now by not going the Outburst strat. I said you can even fit Energize on the build. And we're still killing enemies perfectly fine. Like, I literally recasted abilities because I didn't stack them properly. And enemies will die. So, where exactly is her problem? I wouldn't say that she's absolutely crazy without thinking at all outside of the box, but her baseline kit for Altfire is already pretty strong to start with, right? So imagine if I was running the full synergy I showcased in my original video, where I instantly one-shot everything that I touch. Of course, I wouldn't have to Altfire as often, right? And then I'd have more energy, right? You saw how long were we in there? A minute and a half until I ran out of energy on a build where I told you that you can use Energize or Hunter Adrenaline or many other tools that could help you to improve your economy, which were freely accessible. So hopefully this video is a better explanation for those that for some reason did not want to actually look at my builds and how they worked before commenting on my Jade video on that she sucks, her 4 doesn't work, nothing works, she's garbage, she has no survivability. That's it. I'll see you all in the next one.